Hello and welcome back to Animated Banners with CSS. Before we move forward and start exporting images and getting into our HTML and CSS, I want to briefly discuss how our looping animations are going to work. Now we're going to have two simple animations that are going to be seamlessly looping the entire time. And those animations are going to be the foreground snow layer and the background snow layer. And so they're going to be a very similar animation, and the way they work is going to be very similar. And in order to illustrate how this is going to work, I'm going to create a new Photoshop file, and we'll go ahead and make it the same size as our current one. It doesn't matter what size it is, but I'm just going to do a little illustration here. So let's say that we have this rectangle right here with a light gray background, and let's say that that rectangle represents the banner on our site. Next, let's say we have a snow layer on top of that banner. So I'm going to grab the ellipse tool and let's create a new layer here, and I'm just going to create a few large blue circles. So let's say that those represent our snowflakes, and let's change that background color there so we can see it a little bit better. Just going to darken it up like so. Okay, so the dark gray background is the banner itself, and the four circles here represent one of our snow images. Now the whole time this banner is animating, I want it to look like it's snowing. So I want to see these snowflakes constantly falling over and over again. So in order to create a seamless looping animation with our snow, what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this snow layer, and I'm going to make the snow layer twice as tall as the banner itself. So we're going to have a copy of this snow layer. I'm just going to drag that down to the new layer icon to create a copy of it, and I'm going to drag it up here. So we might need to drag all three layers and move them down a little bit so we can illustrate this a little bit better. In fact, let me go ahead and just resize this so that we can fit it all in the viewable area. So now we have two identical copies of these snowflakes, and we're going to put those two identical copies in the same image. So we're going to have one image with all of these snowflakes in it, where the top half is identical to the bottom half. So I'm going to group those two layers together. And what's going to happen is we're going to animate these snowflakes down, and once we get to this point right here, it's going to look identical to the way it looked when we first started the animation. Then we're going to set that animation to loop infinitely. So once it gets down to this part, it's automatically going to loop back to the beginning, giving us a seamless loop. So again, our snow is going to fall. Once it gets to the end, it's going to jump back to its original starting place and just loop over and over again. And that's how we're going to get this effect of constantly falling snow. Now, obviously, we have more than just four snowflakes that we're seeing here, so it's going to be a lot easier to pull off that illusion. It's going to be hard to tell that all of these snowflakes we're creating are just a copy of the ones that we already see on the stage. So we're going to do that with both layers, and we're going to move these layers at different speeds. So the snow front layer here, with all of the larger snowflakes that are in front of the tree, those are going to be moving much faster because they're going to be closer to the quote-unquote camera. And then the smaller snowflakes in the background are going to be further away, and they're going to be moving a lot slower. So it will give us this really nice sense of depth. So that's basically how our looping snow animation is going to work. So in the next video, we'll take this concept that we've discussed here, and we'll use that concept to export our two snow layers as a usable image for our animation. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you then.